I'm so excited actually to introduce this person coming on with us. She is born and raised in Edmonton. She played soccer, community soccer throughout her life, and then she's gone now to play university soccer in the States, which is a huge accomplishment. And I'm so excited to introduce her to you guys. So we're gonna bring her on here. Hello. Hi, guys, I want to introduce you guys to Annie Ulliac. She plays for Western Kentucky University. Hi, Annie. How's it going?
How are you?
I'm really good. I'm really good. How's everything? How are you surviving all this? Are you home? Are you in Kentucky? Where are you?
Yeah, everything's going really well right now. I'm in Kentucky at my school in Bowling Green, Kentucky. Yeah, everything's good here. Pretty much everyone's gone home. The university's shut down. So I'll probably return to Canada in a few weeks.
That's awesome. So how's your season been? First of all, how was your season so far this year?
So our season was really good. So in NCAA, the season runs from August until November, or if you're very, very good, December. So
Okay.
Our season ended in November, early November, and it was pretty successful for us. We made the conference tournament, and
Awesome.
that's a really good achievement for our school.
Oh, that's awesome. So I'm really excited to have you because I think, as I was telling you before, I coach a girls soccer team and trying to encourage and motivate these girls to see where soccer takes them. For me, going to university and getting a a scholarship, whether it's like free school or partial, whatever it may be, that's huge. How has this impacted your life? And yeah, tell us a little bit about that when moving from Edmonton to the States to play soccer.
Yeah, so I went from Edmonton, and then I played 2 years in a little school near New York City, and now I'm in Kentucky. So those are completely different areas. Geographically, they're really far, and culturally, they're very different, especially from Edmonton. So before this, I had never really traveled. I didn't travel outside of the province at all. So now I've got to experience, and if it weren't for soccer, I never would have been able to go to school outside of Edmonton. So through soccer, I've been able to experience now 5 years of living in another country, which has been a really great life experience. I've learned a lot.
Yeah, and, so obviously there's a culture shock to it. Like, so how did soccer help you? Like, did it help you make new friends? Did it help you, like, communicate with others? Like, how did it help you transition into this?
Yeah, totally. Well, soccer, I think, in my opinion, is the best way to move away from home, because then when you're going into a team, first of all, you're meeting people who are from different places already. So they're probably in the same situation as you. So they understand what you're going through. And it's sort of a built-in group of friends. Like, it's really easy to meet new people through them and to just create tight bonds with your teammates pretty early on.
That's super awesome. That's awesome. So what position do you play?
I'm a goalkeeper.
That's awesome. So, how was, like, school for you soccer for you growing up in Edmonton, and were you always a goalkeeper, or did you find that later out in life? Like, how was that growing up?
Yeah, so I started playing Timbit soccer when I was 4 years old, and then I played for Crestwood Community until I was 16,
Yeah.
and I started playing goalkeeper, I would say around 12 or 13. We started sort of rotating who's in net, and I just really liked it. I like the ability to have an impact on a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I did it, and then eventually I just stuck with it, and now that's what I play all the time.
That's super awesome. That's super cool. So you're gonna be doing a little bit of goalkeeping stuff with us today?
Yes.
Awesome. And you don't have a ball?
No, I don't have a ball in my apartment at school right now. Like I said, everyone's pretty much home, so I don't have one here. But I mean, if any of you guys are at home without a ball, you can follow along, and I'll also tell you how you can include a ball into these drills too.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's perfect. I'm sure a lot of kids at home don't have a ball, which is totally cool. So I'm glad that we have these exercises to do without a ball. So let's get to it. It's been 5 minutes. Yeah, let's get to it. I will put the screen onto you, Annie, and then you can lead us through a few exercises.
Okay.
Let's do this.
All right, guys. So first of all, we're going to start off with something that's very important for goalkeepers and also for field players too. It's all about footwork. And so some of the most important parts of footwork are where you move your feet, but then also the specific balance and where you put your body weight. So the things that I want you to pay attention to, I'll show you here and just let me know if you can't hear me. So we want to pay attention to where our feet are at all times, and then we want to pay attention to where our hips are and our shoulders. Because as a goalkeeper, and even as a field player, you want to make sure that your toes are pointed the proper direction, and you want to make sure your hips are over top of them, and make sure your shoulders are over top of that, so you're in an athletic position. So from the side, see, my shoulders are straight over my hips, over my toes, and with a little bit of my knees bent so I'm ready to go. So if you're leaning off to the side like this, and the ball goes that way, I'm not going to be able to change direction in time. Same with if I'm leaning too far forward and the ball goes that way, I'll probably fall on my face. So when I make sure that I have my toes pointed forward, knees, hips, shoulders, all over my toes, like that. So the first kind of footwork we're going to do is some lateral footwork. So lateral means we're moving side to side. So this way to this way. And if any of you guys are goalkeepers out there, you probably know, you can imagine that there's the net behind me on the wall. So you can't just dive and cover the whole net. You have to be able to move with your feet and then you can dive. Or you can just move with your feet and then scoop up the ball. So in order to move, one of the most common steps, we're back in our athletic position. You want to go like this. So we're moving side to side like this. We're not crossing over our feet, usually. Sometimes you need to do that if you want to move a bit faster, but that way you might get tangled up and then trip over your own feet. So the safest way to move across your net is like this. So if you notice how I'm moving, the whole time my knees stay over my feet and my hips and shoulders. So, and I'm low like this, moving back and forth. So you can practice this. This is just the easiest version of it. And so the point of that is that as a goalkeeper, if you're moving and your whole body's already in this athletic ready position, when you're moving, if the ball comes, you can stop and catch it right away. If I'm standing up straight like this, and I start going over here, and my shoulders aren't over my hips, aren't over my toes, just going back and forth, if the ball comes, I won't be ready in time. And it takes an extra second to get into that athletic position. And as you know, as a goalkeeper, you can't afford that extra second when you have the ball coming at you. So you want to always be ready and move back and forth. So when you're at home, you can put down cones if you have them. Or if you're like me, I'm just going to use shoes as my cones. So I'll put one down here, and I'll put one down on the other side. So you want to start in the middle in your athletic position and just practice going back and forth, touching the cones, everything centered. And you want to be able to do that as quickly as possible. That's something that I still work on all the time because you can always get faster at it. And then we can do another variation. After you've gotten good at this, oh, and another point of that, we don't want to click our heels. Like if you're moving across, you don't want to go like that and touch your feet together because that can also make you trip. So you want to keep your feet evenly spaced the whole time. So in slow motion, it's like this. My feet come shoulder width and go across. So then if you have a friend, you can get them to tell you when to go. So if you're going across like this, you can have a friend say go. So they can say go at any time. If you're halfway through and they say go, you stop and you pretend like you're catching the ball. And you want to see how quickly you can stop and be ready. So if you're here already and they say go, you can stop right away. But if you're up here, they say go, you have to set your feet and then get your hands up. So we want to work on going Go. And you're ready right away. All right.
That was super awesome. I was actually just doing a live Instagram live on that because that was super awesome. That movement, like you said, it's not only just for goalkeepers, for outfield players. What are the other things like? So what I've noticed is when people do a lateral, they're not keeping that shoulder width apart. They're clicking their heels, right? And what is that a sign of? Because I feel, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll do a demonstration again. It's all about, so the keys to movement for goalkeepers and all athletes in every sport is knowing where your body is and all parts of your body and how they're working together. So the importance of the shoulder width is that you're balanced right here. You know, as a goalkeeper, you can dive on this side and you don't have to be trying to dive over your leg. And as a field player, you can change direction quickly and be really agile. So if your feet are too wide, like I said, it's hard to get over them and it takes a lot more effort. But if your feet are too close, then that puts you off balance too. So if you're going through here and you're clicking your heels, then there's a point in your stride when your feet come like this, and that means you're not ready to go either. So that's why you always want to be about shoulder width apart as much as you can.
That was a great explanation. Thank you. Thank you. And like, so hips, big part of that whole thing, right? And I think that's something that players miss a lot is the strengthening of their hips.
Definitely.
Where they're like, you know, they just focus on they try to spread their legs so far apart, right? And then they just can never find that right balance because I don't think their hips are strong enough. So like, what are some hip strengthening things that you do as a goalkeeper?
Well, some exercises that I really like because strengthening your hips is also it's important for everybody, especially female athletes, because I tore my ACL in 2018 playing soccer. And so one of the most important things that we try to get back is hip strength because that has a really big impact on injury prevention. So we do lots of things for that. One of the best ones is, and you can do this completely body weight, like I am at home. Right now in my town that I'm in, I don't have access to a gym and I don't have access to a soccer field. So all of my training, and I'm still trying to train at a high level, so all of my training is just through body weight and by myself. So we can do lots of lunges for this. These are just simple forward lunges. So like this. You can do some backwards lunges to switch it up, work on your balance. And for all of these, your whole goal is you want to keep your hips straight across this way. You don't want them to be one up and one down. And you don't want them to be sticking out here or sticking out here. So you want to keep them centered the whole time. Your hips control a lot of where your center of gravity is. It's mostly in this region. So if you can strengthen your hips, then you can control a lot more your body movement when you're doing this. Because if you can keep your hips straight here, straight facing forward, then it gives you an advantage when you're moving.
That's awesome. That was a great explanation. Thank you so much. So what else are you going to be showing us?
Another thing I'm going to show you is we'll go into some backwards work, which might be a little like moving backwards, as if you're caught out a little high and you're moving back towards your net.
Oh,
that's a big one, and making those big moves that look really cool.
That's awesome. Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's do it.
Cool. If you're a defender too, this is good because when here's my imaginary person, when you're defending someone, you can move with them too. It's the same movement. It involves a lot of hips, and it involves a lot of fast, quick feet. So, once again, we're going to imagine this is my net as a goalkeeper. So this time, I'm caught out too high like this. So I'm starting off I'm facing the ball. The ball's right where you are in the camera. So I'm in my athletic position once again, knees bent, hips, shoulders. So if I go like this and just backpedal, I'm not going to get there fast enough because the ball's already going to go over my head and into the net. So what we want to do, once again, we're focusing a lot on hips. Your first step is the most important step. And you have to judge, you have to know, is the ball going on this side of me? Or is the ball going to go on this side of me? And that's something that takes a lot of practice, just doing lots of repetitions, and then your brain will be able to make those decisions in an instant, and it'll recognize where the ball's going because you've seen it so many times before. So we're going to work on that first step. So your hips are pointed completely forward right now. So say I notice that the ball's going to go on that side of me. So my first step is a swivel backward. Okay, so you can see, I'll back up so you can see my toes. My toes are really important. So this toe is going to point to where the ball's going. Open up like this. And then we can do the same thing on the other side. Keep your hips straight, and then my toe opens up and points where the ball's going. And now my hips are open here too. So I want to keep my shoulders facing the ball at all times when I'm tracking it. And I want to keep my toe pointed where the ball's going. So let me show you how to do it, and then I'll slow it down. So I'm facing the ball right here. The ball's going over that shoulder. Open up this hip and step back, but my shoulders are always facing there. And then when I make the same, it looks like that. But we're just doing the footwork for now. So on the other side, open up my hips, my shoulders see where the ball is, and I'm doing a crossover back. Remember how I said before that we didn't want to do crossovers laterally because we might trip on our feet? Crossovers are a lot faster for going backwards than if I were to open and shuffle backwards, but you can do that too. I prefer to do the first step as a crossover to get there a little bit faster and give myself a little more power to push off and go. So you just want to practice that a lot. This is definitely, to be honest, one of the things that I need to work on, so I do work on it a lot. You want to get that hip opening, make sure your shoulders are facing the ball, and get that first step in. You can just do lots of reps of this. If you have someone who can toss the ball over your head, that's great. I do this all the time with just one of my coaches or one of my teammates. I'll start out here, and I'll touch the ball, and then they'll throw it over one shoulder, and I'll practice getting to it. So remember, we start off with our hips facing forward, point your toe where the ball's going, keep your shoulders pointed to where the ball is, cross over, and get back. Hips straight, hips open and toe pointed to where the ball's going, shoulders pointed to where the ball is, and get back. All right.
That was really good. How important is footwork with goalies? I think it's like an underutilized tool. I don't know how to explain it. I feel like goalies don't work on it as much as they should.
Yeah,
So
totally. Difference maker, especially when you get to a higher level or older goalkeepers. It is the most important thing. My coach tells me all the time this is the number one thing that goalkeepers should work on, because when you can move your feet faster, you can get to the ball more easily. And it's a lot safer if you're trying to save the ball, if you can stay on your feet, because then if you're really good at footwork, you can change directions really quickly. But if you have to dive for everything, it takes a lot longer to get back up and move than it does to just cut in the other direction.
Yeah, that's super awesome. Yeah, it's the whole not getting there fast enough, and also when you're getting hit with a ball that has so much force that if you're like, I love that you just before when you described like standing straight, I should stand up and just show you. But when you were saying like you stand up like this, right? If you were catching a ball with so much force and you're caught like that, you're gonna fall over.
Oh,
And yeah, right? And then same with the wide stance is like you're gonna fall over. So I feel like getting that foundation, that base is so important because first of all, you're just stronger, right? Getting hit with a ball with so much force. That was awesome. Good. That was good. So the first one we did the lateral movements, and then this one, which is that one, you keep your feet apart, and then this one we're doing a backwards movement, and it's doing that crossover.
Yeah.
And just continuously going back and forth. Is that what kind you do for like how long do you do this normally?
Lots of these I do with a ball, like getting one person to throw the ball over my head. But often there's times when, there's no one there to throw the ball for me. Or I actually do these movements as part of my warm-up before a practice or a game. I incorporate these. So I would do, it depends on how many reps you want. These are really focusing on, there's lots of other things you can do for fitness. So for these ones, I always focus on form. So if I notice that I'm getting tired enough that my form is not good and I'm not staying balanced, then I'll take a break. You want to be able to keep good form even when you're tired or fatigued though. So sometimes you can push yourself and do one or two more, but you really want to focus on keeping your body balanced and just getting faster at them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. So what are we moving on to next?
Okay, so my third thing is very goalkeeper specific. I know that Dylan showed you before how to catch the ball, and he showed you how to dive indoors with the ball, which is something really useful because that's hard. You don't want to hurt yourself when you're diving indoors. So he gave you some really good drills for that. So I'm going to do sort of, the next step for that, something you can always practice indoors actually, is getting up off the ground. So imagine you're a goalkeeper and you dove to one side. There's a couple of ways for you to get up off the ground because you always want to be ready for the next shot really fast. So this would be maybe I dove and then I deflected the ball so it's still in the field and I need to get back up to my feet to be ready to make another save.
Cool. I like it. Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so there's two main ways that you can get back up on your feet after you dive and you want to be ready for the next shot. So I'll show you both of them and then I'll tell you which one I use more often. Both of them are great. I learned both of them from my goalkeeper coach at Edmonton, and they're useful in just I think it depends on your individual physique and the way your own body moves. So you just have to figure out what works the best for you. So the first one, some people call a scissor kick. Or something similar to that. So for this one, here's my nice fake dive. Great form. So for this one, I dove and I tipped the ball over here somehow, and then the ball's going back that way. So I kick this leg out. I'm going to do this in slow motion. So kick this leg around so that I'm lying on the ground on this side and then get up. So it's a switch of direction. I'll do that a little faster. So you're on the ground like this, you kick your legs around, and you're up on this side, ready to go this direction. And then if you're on this side, you kick your legs around in front of you, and you're ready to go this direction. So this one, the key parts of it are that you're on the ground with your proper form, which is your shoulders are a little bit closer. See, my shoulders are closer to the camera than my legs are because I go forward to get the ball. And then you bring your legs in front of you and you stand up. So we try not to use our arms when we do that, but that takes a lot of core strength and it takes a lot of practice on the form too and overall body power. So when you're just starting off working on that, it's all right to use your arms if you need a boost from, so you can use your elbow to swing around. But then when you keep on doing that and practicing it and building up, You can do it without your arms. So the one thing we want to try to avoid though is we don't want to use our hands to turn. So I don't want to go like this and push, because if I'm still on the ground and the ball comes at me and my hands are here, I can still make some saves. But if my hands are here, then the ball is going to go right over me before I can even push them up off the ground. So we never want to have our hands on the ground if we can avoid it. So that's the first way of getting up, with the sort of scissor kick around. So that one I don't use frequently just because I'm not as fast at it. So if you pick one and you work on it and get really fast at it, you can use it in all the situations. So the second one is what I use a lot more often. So I'm going to do my nice slow motion dive again. I'm down here on the ground. So for this, see my knee, my top knee is up in front, and I just kick. And then I'm up here, and then I have my foot under me. I get this foot under me, and I can dive over it. So from this side, you kick, and you're up here. And you use your momentum from the kick to pull your upper body with you. So this is another instance where you want to know as an athlete where your body is and how it's lined up at all times. So I want to keep my body as close to this line as possible, so that when I kick, my body stays lined up over my hips and I'm already balanced to go into a dive. So again, we don't want to use our hands planted in the ground. If you want, you can use your elbow to get up, but you don't want to have your hand, and you want to try not to use one or two hands. You want to use that one elbow. And if you need at first, if you really have to use your hand, because this one does take more core strength, then try to use just your knuckles so that you don't get used to that habit of having your whole hand flat on the ground. You just want to work on building up that strength so that you can kick your leg and pull your upper body with you. And that's the one that I use most frequently to get off the ground.
Okay, that, first of all, that looked so fun. It looked fun.
It's a good
but
one.
it looked really hard. Like I don't have enough space where I am right now because I wanted to try it, but I think I'm gonna go try it after this. It's just like that kick around. The first one, the scissor.
Yeah.
That one looked tough. But I've seen goalies do that before as a warm-up, and to incorporate a ball, they do that too, right?
Yeah, I can give you a little demonstration. So if you have, this is my imaginary ball.
Yeah.
You go like this, and then you throw it back to the person who's passing to you. And then you go like this and catch another one. And you can just do that. The scissor one works really well for doing a bunch of reps in a row close together like that. And then what I do for my warm-up is I like to do some just practice diving just to help me with my sort of visualizing and making sure I know where my body is when I'm moving. So I'll get someone to throw me the ball over here, dive onto it, and then I kick back up, get to my feet. You notice when I kick, I bring that foot under me as much as possible. A little harder on when you're indoors, but you can definitely still work on it. And then dive to this side. Do the same thing, kick back up, get my feet under me, and dive again.
Yeah, that looks hard. Like that is mainly core, right?
A lot of core, yeah.
Yeah, especially when you're like doing the scissor. I was just like that's pretty much all core, and then probably just like your glutes and your hips obviously are definitely involved, but you're flexing your core, right? When you're doing that. And then the kick back too. That's cool. I'm excited. If for anyone who's watching and you go and practice this, please send us your videos because I would love to see some kids do this because that I think is super cool. And another thing that I don't think a lot of goalkeepers focus on is those rebounds. right?
Yeah.
Like, get the first save, which is, yes, awesome, but then it's like, man, get up, right? So I wanted to pick your brain a little bit on a goalkeeper and making those saves and, how do you deal with frustration and how do you train mentally to be prepared for a game? Because one mistake can cost you, could cost you a game. So what do you do?
Yeah, I think the most important thing, especially for a young goalkeeper, but some people don't learn it until later in life, is finding a balance between wanting to always get better and realizing that you're going to make some mistakes. But you can't start thinking that you're helpless and that you're always going to make mistakes. You just have to focus on how you can get better every day. And at the other end of that, you can't think that you always have to be perfect every single day. Otherwise, you're never going to be happy when you're playing soccer. So goalkeepers at all levels make some of the worst mistakes that you'll ever see. So it happens to absolutely everybody, even the professionals. And you just have to use that as a learning opportunity. Every time you make a mistake, you just try not to make that mistake again. So what my coach does this season, whenever I would make a mistake in a game, we would have a practice a couple days after the game, and it would start off with our warm up, and then we would just do drills to fix that mistake. Because he's like, I understand that you're going to make mistakes in the game, but we just want to work on that. And so my philosophy, if you make a big mistake in a game, but then you never do it again by like practicing, or you do it less frequently, then you're always going to be getting better and progressing. And then eventually you'll have made every mistake and you'll have learned how to fix every mistake in the book.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's so true. You just have to take every mistake or failure or whatever it is into a learning opportunity, which is kind of awesome in itself, because if you never made a certain mistake, you may have never practiced certain drills and you may have never gotten so good at those that you might have not been here, you know what I mean?
Totally.
That's super awesome. I'm so glad you joined us today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. I think that was an awesome session. It was super technical. It was super the ABCs of, footwork and that goalie skill, which is I'm totally gonna go try. So thank you, Annie, so much for doing this. I hope that you stay happy and healthy, and I'm sure you're going to be coming back to Edmonton soon. I know our season's kind of like over here. I don't know what's going to happen for the summer, but are you going to come back and play for the summer? Do you usually do?
Well, it depends. So for my first 2 years of university, I stayed in the US and I played for a pro-am team in the top amateur league in the US. And then I came back and played for Victoria Major League. And this summer, I'm supposed to be playing, if it all works out, for a Nashville team, also in the top amateur league. So we'll see if hopefully that season goes ahead.
That's amazing. Congratulations. That's so awesome. I'm so happy that you came. We have to have you back. We have to have you back. Whether you I don't know, you're going to be in Kentucky for a little bit, obviously, until this thing is all over. But yeah, we'd love to have you back, show us more goalkeeping things, and continue picking your brain on how, you train mentally for a game. That'd be awesome.
I'm excited to be involved with free footy in the future.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. I hope you enjoyed this. We always are going to be doing sessions at 12 and 4 p.m. daily with fantastic people like Annie, so please tune in. There always will be posted on our page, so if you don't catch us live, there will be saved there for you to watch later. I hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you guys all later. Have a good one. See you. Bye.